Hello, I'm Troy from American Billet in Phoenix, Arizona. This is our complete small block Chevy serpentine kit. The kit consists of a short reverse rotation water pump. It comes with a water pump pulley and the main bracket. The main bracket holds the air conditioner and the alternator and the power steering pump. This keeps the belt in total alignment with all of the pulleys. We have two different styles of pulleys. We have the cutout style and we have the classic style. The cutout is available in a machined finish, a polished finish, or a silver line, which is black with silver highlights. The classic pulleys are available in a machined finish, a polished finish, or in a solid black anodized finish. The alternator is a 160 amp one-wire alternator. The power steering pump is a GM Type 2 style power steering pump. You have your choice of a remote reservoir or an onboard reservoir for the power steering. Power steering comes with a pulley. It'll come with a crank pulley and a belt tensioner. The belt tensioner is what all of the modern cars use to keep the belt, proper tension on the belt at all times. Our competitors, some of them use a tensioning rod to adjust the alternator and the air conditioner belt tensioner. We do it the way all the modern cars are. The air conditioner is a Sandon 507 style air conditioning compressor. It'll come with a clutch cover and the All-American Billet manifold for the hoses. So the kit comes in three different finishes. This is our machined finish. The machined finish comes with all as-cast accessories. We also offer a polished finish. It will come with all polished accessories. And then we have our silver line finish, which is black anodized with silver highlights, and it comes with all black accessories. The water pump will always be cast. You can leave it cast or paint it to match your engine. You're going to want to start by removing all of your factory accessories, your factory water pump and crank pulley as per your OEM service manual. You're going to want to clean all of the gasket surfaces and chase the threads with a thread chaser to make sure there's no debris in the holes deeper than what the existing bolts went. Make sure that the holes are clean on the crank pulley and that the surface is flat so that the pulley sets on it how it's supposed to. Step one is to install the crank pulley. That's the easiest place to start is with a crank pulley. The crank pulley bolts are 3/8 fine thread. Now we'll install the short water pump. We supply hex head bolts that will go in the top holes just to loosely hold it in location. Okay, now that the locating bolts are in for the water pump, we'll install the main bracket with two of the main bracket bolts, and we'll use the spacers that are indicated in the instructions, the length spacer for each location. These will be going in the bottom water pump bolt. Then we can remove one locating bolt on the water pump. We'll install the rear alternator bracket and a spacer through the top water pump hole. That will be the rear mount for the alternator, and then we'll do the same on the passenger side for the air conditioner. At this point, we're just going to leave everything loose to make it easier to install the air conditioner and the alternator and the power steering pump. Once everything is totally installed, then we'll fully tighten all of the bolts. Next, we're going to install the 160 amp alternator. It's easiest to install the top bolt with the washer first. with the alternator rotated outward. Then once it's loosely started, we'll rotate the bottom down, slide the bolt through and into the back bracket. With a 3/8 coarse thread flathead screw. This is a 160 amp alternator, so you're going to want to use a 4-gauge wire or heavier if your battery's in the engine compartment. If your battery's in the trunk, you'll need to use a heavier wire. And it also has to have a ground. The ground terminal is right next to the hot terminal. There's a post to attach the ground wire. The ground doesn't have to go all the way to the battery. It can go just right to your engine block. Next we'll install the GM Type 2 power steering pump. It's installed with button head screws with flat washers. The pump itself is threaded. And again, you have your choice of a onboard reservoir. This is a remote reservoir pump. The pumps are different for a remote reservoir or an onboard. But the onboard reservoir will set right here if you choose that style. The remote reservoir is a billet cylinder, most often mounted to the radiator support with the feed hose feeding the side of the pump. The pressure hose will go to your box or to your rack, and then it will return back to the return side of the reservoir. The hose routing diagram for the power steering hoses is in our instructions as well as on the website. There's a different set of hose routing instructions for the onboard versus the remote, but both are on our website and in the instructions. Next we'll install the power steering pulley. It's installed with 4 button head screws. They're a fine thread screw. Next we'll install the air conditioning compressor. It's a Sandon 507 style air conditioning compressor. The top bolt is a button head screw with a flat washer. The bottom bolt is a socket head cap screw. The rear also gets a button head screw. The rear bracket on the air conditioner has a 5/16 thread. The rear bracket on the alternator has a 3/8 thread. The air conditioner is full of oil. It has 3.1 ounces of 100 bag oil. And there's a block-off plate on the top of the compressor. It's shipped full of oil. If you're not going to hook your hoses up in the rest of the air conditioning when you first install the kit, that's fine. It'll work just like an idler. You just don't hook the wiring up and don't install our manifold until you're ready to plumb the rest of the air conditioning system. So when you install the air conditioning manifold, when you're installing your hoses, make sure you put a backup wrench on the fitting. When you tighten the hose, if you don't have a backup wrench on the fitting, it can over-tighten the fitting and crack the fitting inside the manifold. Next, we're going to install the air conditioning clutch cover. These screws you use blue Loctite on. They're not going to be much tighter than finger tight. If you over-tighten them, you'll bend the fingers inside the air conditioning clutch. This is just a decorative cover, so the screws are held in place with blue Loctite. In addition, all of the hardware on the kit, as you're installing it, you should be using blue Loctite. Next, we'll install the water pump pulley. It's attached with 4 button head screws. With this pulley still tight, we'll tighten the 4 main bracket bolts. we can fully tighten the alternator, air conditioner, and power steering pump. Next, we're going to install the belt tensioner with a 3/8 bolt using a 9/16 wrench. The belt tensioner keeps a proper tension on the belt at all times, just like a modern car does. Next, we'll install the belt. It's easiest to put the belt underneath the crankshaft first, around the power steering, around the alternator, under the tensioner, or excuse me, over the tensioner, over the air conditioner. Then you unload the tensioner with one hand and slip the belt under the water pump with the other. And then you let go of the tensioner and it's fully seated, fully installed. Next, we'll install the decorative cover on the belt tensioner with the 2 flathead screws. Next step will be to install your power steering hoses. The hoses do not come with the kit because they're vehicle specific. Once you install the hoses, the proper way to bleed the system is to jack the front end of the car up so there's no weight on the wheels. Without the engine running, turn lock to lock 30 to 50 times to bleed all of the air out of the system. Failure to do so will cause the pump to burn up quickly. It'll also cause the steering to be inconsistent or erratic. So proper bleeding procedure is important. That concludes All-American Billet's small block Chevy serpentine kit installation. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.